It is the year 170 AD. You are standing in the freezing mud of the Germanic frontier, on the very edge of the known world. Inside the commander's tent sits a man who holds a position of power that the human mind can barely comprehend. He is the emperor of the Roman Empire. He has absolute, unchecked authority over millions of lives. If he wants a man executed, it is done. If he wants a city burned to the ground, it burns. He has access to every pleasure, every luxury, and every indulgence the ancient world can provide. But look at what he is doing. He is not hosting a lavish banquet. He is not sleeping in a bed of silk. He is sitting alone in the freezing cold, writing in a private journal by the light of a flickering lamp. He is writing in Greek, the language of philosophy. And what is the most powerful man in the world writing about? He is not writing about how great he is. He is not writing about his military conquests. He is writing to himself about how to control his temper. He is writing about how to forgive the people who have betrayed him. He is reminding himself that fame is an illusion, that his life will soon be over, and that his only true duty is to be a good man today. Welcome to the Book Vault of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is not a book. It was never meant to be a book. The original title of this manuscript was Ta Eis Huten, which translates simply to himself. It is the private diary of a Roman emperor desperately trying to hold onto his soul while the world around him collapses into chaos, plague, and endless war. Over the next 3 sessions, we are going to dismantle your modern anxieties using a 2,000-year-old psychological operating system known as Stoicism. Chapter 1. The Dichotomy of Control, Drawing the Border. Before you can apply the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius to your life, you must understand the foundational law of all Stoic thought. It was pioneered by Epictetus, a slave who became a philosopher, and it was adopted by Marcus Aurelius, the emperor. It is called the dichotomy of control. To a Stoic, all the anxiety, misery, and frustration in human life comes from one single mathematical error. We blur the line between what is up to us and what is not up to us. Let us draw the line. What is not up to you? The economy is not up to you. The weather is not up to you. Whether you get sick is not up to you. And most importantly, what other people think of you is completely, absolutely outside of your control. You can be the kindest, most hardworking person in your office, and your boss might still fire you because they are in a bad mood. If you tie your happiness to the things outside the line, you are volunteering to be a slave. You are handing your emotional stability over to the chaotic, random whims of the universe. What is up to you? Only 3 things: your thoughts, your impulses, and your actions. That is it. Marcus Aurelius writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When disaster strikes, when your car breaks down, when your flight is canceled, when someone insults you, your first psychological reflex must be to draw the line. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If the answer is no, the Stoic response is a profound, radical acceptance. You do not yell at the airline employee. You do not punch the steering wheel of your broken car. You say, this is outside my control. Therefore, it is nothing to me. You immediately withdraw your energy from the external event, and you hyperfocus all of your energy on the only thing you do control: how you choose to respond. Chapter 2. The Discipline of Perception, the Anatomy of an Impression. We now move to the most powerful psychological tool in the emperor's arsenal. In modern therapy, we call it cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. But 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius called it the discipline of perception. We believe that external events cause our emotions. We say, the rain ruined my day, or that person made me angry. Marcus Aurelius says this is biologically and philosophically false. He writes, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Let's break down the anatomy of an emotion. Event A occurs. It starts raining on your wedding day. The rain itself is entirely objective. It is simply H2O molecules falling from the sky. The rain does not have a personality. The rain is not evil. The rain is not trying to ruin your life. It is just water. The misery you feel does not come from event A. It comes from event B, your judgment. Your mind instantly applies a narrative to the rain. Your mind says, "This is terrible. My day is ruined. Why does the universe hate me?" It is the judgment that causes the suffering, not the rain. The Stoics had a word for the initial, automatic flash of an event: fantasia, an impression. When someone insults you, the impression hits you. You feel a flush of heat. But between the impression and your emotional reaction, there is a microsecond of time. In that microsecond lies your prohairesis, your power of choice. The tactic: you must learn to strip away the judgments and see events exactly as they are. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to do this constantly. When a luxurious feast of roasted meat was placed before him, he did not say, "This is a glorious banquet fit for a king." He would look at it and write in his diary, "This is the dead body of a pig." When he poured an expensive vintage of Falernian wine, he did not romanticize it. He wrote, "This is sheep's wool dyed with the blood of shellfish." He did this to strip the emotional magic away from objects. When you strip away the judgment, a lost job is not a catastrophe. It is just a change in employment. An insult from a stranger is not a devastating blow to your honor. It is just a series of sound waves emitted by an ignorant person. Revoke your judgment, and the pain disappears instantly. Chapter 3. The Inner Citadel, the Retreat Within. Marcus Aurelius was arguably the busiest man on earth. He was commanding legions against Germanic tribes, managing the Roman economy, and dealing with a horrific plague that was wiping out his empire. He was exhausted. Like all of us, he craved a vacation. He wanted to escape. He wrote about how people seek retreats in the country, on the beach, or in the mountains, desperate to get away from the stress of their lives. But Marcus Aurelius realized that a physical vacation is a tragic illusion. If you go to a beautiful beach in Greece, but your mind is still filled with anxiety, resentment, and fear, you are not on vacation. You have simply transported your misery to a more beautiful location. Instead of seeking a physical retreat, the emperor built an inner citadel. He writes, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. Constantly, then, give yourself this retreat and renew yourself." The inner citadel is an untouchable fortress inside your mind. It is the core of your being that remains absolutely pristine, no matter what is happening outside the walls. When the Germanic tribes were literally beating against the shields of his soldiers, Marcus Aurelius could close his eyes and retreat into his inner citadel. In that space, he was untouchable. No spear could pierce it. No plague could infect it. No political betrayal could compromise it. You must build your own inner citadel. How? By relying entirely on your own internal principles, rather than external validation. If your self-worth is built on the fact that you are rich, your citadel is made of paper. The economy can crash and destroy you. If your self-worth is built on your physical beauty, time and age will inevitably tear your fortress down. But if your citadel is built on virtue, on the fact that you are honest, that you are just, that you do your best, and that you act with courage, no one can take that away from you. You can be thrown in a prison cell, stripped of all your money, and despised by the world, but your inner citadel remains impenetrable. Stop looking for peace in a tropical vacation. Build a mind so strong that you can find perfect tranquility in the middle of a screaming, chaotic traffic jam. Chapter 4. The Problem of Other People, the Stoic Shield. If you want to know how truly difficult Marcus Aurelius's life was, look at the people he was surrounded by. Roman politics was a literal blood sport. He was surrounded by sycophants who lied to his face, ambitious generals who plotted his assassination, and incompetent bureaucrats who wasted his time. And yet, in Meditations, we do not see an emperor consumed by bitterness. We do not see a man demanding revenge. We see a man coaching himself on how to endure toxic people without becoming toxic himself. Marcus Aurelius invented a specific psychological exercise to protect his mind from the cruelty of others. Every single morning, before he left his tent to face the court, he would say this to himself: Begin the morning by saying to yourself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial. All these things happen to them by reason of their ignorance of what is good and evil. This is profound. He is premeditating the hostility of the world. If you wake up expecting everyone to be kind, rational, and helpful, you will be crushed by 9 a.m. when someone cuts you off in traffic or a coworker steals your idea. Your expectation of a perfect world sets you up for constant disappointment and rage. But if you wake up and say, today, I am going to encounter liars, fools, and narcissists, you put on your armor. When the coworker steals your idea, you do not lose your temper. You simply say, ah, there is the deceitful person I expected to meet. You are not shocked. You are prepared. Narrator, the compassion of the Stoic. But the emperor does not stop at mere preparation. He takes it a step further into radical compassion. Why are people arrogant and deceitful? Marcus Aurelius reminds himself that they do not do it because they are inherently evil. They do it because they are blind. They are ignorant of true good and evil. They actually believe that stealing a promotion or backstabbing a friend will make them happy. They are operating on a broken psychological algorithm. He writes, I can neither be injured by any of them, for no one can fix a foulness on me, nor can I be angry with my kinsman, nor hate him. For we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids. To act against one another then is contrary to nature. Chapter 5. Getting out of bed, the work of a human being. It is 5 a.m. on the Germanic frontier. It is freezing. Marcus Aurelius is exhausted. He has a frail, sickly body. He knows that waiting for him outside his tent is a day filled with treacherous politicians, endless military logistics, and the brutal reality of a plague. He does not want to get out of bed. He wants to stay under the warm blankets. And so, the Emperor of Rome begins to argue with himself in his diary. It is one of the most famously relatable passages in all of ancient literature. He writes, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? His inner voice replies, but it's nicer here. Marcus strikes back with absolute, ruthless logic. So you were born to feel nice, instead of doing things and experiencing them? Don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants and spiders and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best they can? And you're not willing to do your job as a human being? Why aren't you running to do what your nature demands? We live in a modern culture that worships comfort. We believe the ultimate goal of life is to sit on a beach, drink a cocktail, and do absolutely nothing. To the Stoics, a life of endless comfort is a tragedy. It is a violation of your biological and spiritual nature. A bird does not complain about building a nest. A bee does not complain about gathering pollen. They are fulfilling their nature. They are participating in the architecture of reality. Chapter 6. Sympathia, the invisible web. Once you are out of bed, how should you interact with the people around you, especially the people you do not like? The Stoics possessed a cosmological view of the universe called sympathia. Sympathia is the belief that everything in the universe is mutually interdependent. All human beings are limbs of the same massive cosmic body. We share a portion of the divine logos, reason. Marcus Aurelius writes, what injures the hive injures the bee. In the modern world, we operate on hyper-individualism. We believe that we can succeed at the expense of others. We believe that if we step on our coworkers to get a promotion, we have won. Marcus Aurelius argues that this is fundamentally, mathematically impossible. Because we are all connected by sympathia, if you harm your neighbor, you are literally harming yourself. If you cut off your own hand to feed your stomach, your body does not win. Your body bleeds to death. He writes, we were born to work together like feet, like hands, like eyes, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone to turn your back on him. These are unnatural. Every action you take today must be passed through the filter of the common good. If an action benefits you, but actively harms your community, your company, or your family, a Stoic refuses to take it. You must view the irritating, frustrating people in your life not as enemies, but as fellow limbs on the tree of humanity. When a coworker makes a mistake, your job is not to mock them or destroy them. Your job is to instruct them or to tolerate them with patience. You cannot secede from the human race. You are bound to the hive. Act like a bee that knows its survival depends entirely on the survival of the whole. Chapter 7. Doing good without expectation, the vine and the grapes. Because of sympathia, you are commanded to do good for others. You must help your fellow humans. But here is where our egos lay a devastating trap. When we do a favor for someone, we secretly expect something in return. We expect gratitude. We expect them to say thank you. We expect a favor in return. And when they do not thank us, when they take our hard work for granted, we become incredibly bitter. We say, I am never helping anyone again. People are so ungrateful. Marcus Aurelius identified this trap, and he destroyed it with a beautiful metaphor. He writes, a vine produces grapes and asks for nothing else in return. A horse when it has run, a dog when it has tracked the game, a bee when it has made the honey. And a man when he has done a good act, does not call out for others to come and see, but goes on to another act, as a vine goes on to produce again the grapes in season. Does a grapevine demand applause after it produces a cluster of grapes? No. Producing grapes is simply its nature. It does the work, and then it rests, and then it produces again. Does the eye demand a reward for seeing? No. The eye sees because it is an eye. Chapter 8. The obstacle is the way, the alchemy of action. We arrive at the most famous, powerful, and transformative concept in all of meditations. You are out of bed. You are doing your duty. You are acting for the common good. But life is not easy. You will encounter massive resistance. You start a business and your supplier goes bankrupt. You train for a marathon and you break your leg. You try to pass a law and a corrupt politician blocks it. The normal human reaction to an obstacle is despair. We say, my plans are ruined. I cannot move forward. Marcus Aurelius looked at obstacles through a completely different, terrifyingly aggressive lens. He writes, our inward power, when it obeys nature, reacts to events by accommodating itself to what it faces, to what is possible. It turns material to its own purpose, like a fire that masters whatever falls into it. A little flame would be extinguished, but a blazing fire takes everything thrown into it, consumes it, and rises higher. And then, he delivers the immortal line that has guided generals, presidents, and champions for 2 millennia. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. To a Stoic, an obstacle is not a roadblock. It is fuel. Imagine you are trying to be a patient, kind leader, but you are assigned to work under a boss who is aggressive, cruel, and a terrible communicator. Your instinct is to say, this boss is an obstacle to my peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius would say, no, this boss is not an obstacle. This boss is the training ground. How can you practice patience if you are only ever surrounded by polite people? How can you practice forgiveness if no one ever wrongs you? The cruel boss is the exact material you need to practice your philosophy. The boss is the heavy log thrown onto your fire. Consume him. Use his cruelty as a mirror to ensure you never act like him. Use his poor communication to force yourself to become an overcommunicator. If you are injured and confined to a bed, you cannot run your marathon. The marathon is blocked, but a new path has opened. The path of practicing resilience, the path of reading, the path of conquering self-pity. What stands in the way becomes the way. Nothing can stop the Stoic mind, because whatever you throw in front of a Stoic, they will simply use it as practice for a new virtue. The obstacle is never a dead end. The obstacle is simply the new curriculum. Chapter 9. The discipline of will, the dog and the cart. When a normal human being faces an unavoidable tragedy, a terminal illness, the death of a loved one, a catastrophic accident, the immediate reaction is denial. We scream at the universe. We say, "This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. I refuse to accept this." The early Stoics created a brilliant, brutal metaphor for this exact situation. Imagine a dog tied to a heavy, rolling cart. The cart represents fate. It represents the unstoppable momentum of the universe. The cart is moving forward. The dog has two choices. Choice 1. The dog can plant its feet, dig its claws into the dirt, whine, and fight the rope. What happens? The dog is dragged anyway. The cart does not care. The dog suffers horrific pain, chokes on the collar, and is dragged exactly where the cart is going regardless of its resistance. Choice 2. The dog can look at the cart, realize it is tied to it, and decide to trot happily alongside it. The dog goes to the exact same destination, but it goes with dignity, freedom, and peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius lost 8 children. If he had fought the rope, if he had demanded that the universe rewrite the laws of biology and mortality just for him, he would have been dragged into absolute madness and bitter resentment. Instead, he exercised the discipline of will. The discipline of will is the ultimate surrender to reality. It is the realization that the universe is infinitely vast, incredibly complex, and not tailored to your personal preferences. Marcus writes, "O nature, from thee are all things, in thee are all things, to thee all things return." When you face the unchangeable, you must stop fighting the rope. Stop screaming that it is unfair. The universe does not deal in fairness. It deals in reality. Your resistance does not change the outcome. It only manufactures your own psychological torture. Trot alongside the cart. Accept the reality with the absolute dignity of a sovereign mind. Chapter 10. Amor fati, loving your fate. But Marcus Aurelius does not stop at mere acceptance. Acceptance is passive. Acceptance is saying, "Fine, I guess I have to endure this." The Stoic emperor pushes the human mind to its absolute, terrifying, glorious limit. He demands that we do not merely endure our fate. We must love it. Thousands of years later, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche would coin the Latin phrase for this exact concept. Amor fati, a love of fate. But it was the Stoics who invented the practice. Narrator. The ultimate embrace, Marcus Aurelius writes, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." How do you love a tragedy? How do you love a sickness? You love it because it is the only reality that exists. If you wish for a different life, you are wishing for a ghost. You are wishing for a phantom that does not exist. To love your fate is to realize that every single event, the triumphs, the betrayals, the promotions, the deaths, are all necessary threads in the magnificent, incomprehensible tapestry of your life. If you pull one thread out, the entire tapestry unravels. You cannot say, "I want to be a resilient, wise, compassionate person, but I refuse to ever experience pain, betrayal, or grief." It is the grief that carves the capacity for compassion into your soul. It is the betrayal that teaches you the value of loyalty. Chapter 11. The view from above, shrinking the ego. When you are caught in the middle of a crisis, your ego magnifies it. If you embarrass yourself in a meeting, or if someone insults your reputation, your brain tricks you into thinking it is the most important event in the history of the world. You agonize over it for weeks. You cannot sleep. Marcus Aurelius had the weight of the entire known world on his shoulders. The stress could have easily crushed him. To survive it, he regularly practiced a meditation called the view from above. He writes, "Think of substance in its entirety, of which you have the smallest of shares, and of time in its entirety, of which a brief and momentary span has been assigned to you, and of the works of destiny, and how very small is your part in them." He would close his eyes and imagine his soul floating out of his body. He would look down at his tent. Then he would look down at the entire Germanic frontier, seeing the thousands of troops looking like tiny ants. He would zoom out further, seeing the vast expanse of the Roman Empire, the Mediterranean Sea, the deserts of Africa. Then he would zoom out in time. He would think of the dinosaurs. He would think of the ancient pharaohs who built the pyramids and thought their names would live forever. He would think of the billions of people who had lived, suffered, worried, and died, completely forgotten by history. We are a speck of dust, standing on a slightly larger speck of dust, hurtling through an infinite void, existing for a fraction of a microsecond in the grand timeline of the universe. This is not meant to make you feel depressed or nihilistic. It is meant to set you free. Why are you losing sleep because a coworker insulted your shirt? Why are you paralyzed by the fear of launching a new business? In 100 years, you will be dead. Everyone who ever knew you will be dead. Your embarrassments, your failures, and your anxieties will be completely, utterly erased by the sands of time. The view from above crushes your ego. It destroys your anxiety. It reminds you that the drama you are obsessing over is microscopic. When you zoom out to the cosmic perspective, you realize you have nothing to lose. The only thing that makes logical sense is to be a good human being right here, right now, in the tiny flash of light that you have been granted. Chapter 12. Memento Mori, the ultimate anchor. We arrive at the final, most terrifying, and most clarifying meditation in all of Stoicism. When a Roman general returned from conquering a foreign land, the city threw him a massive parade called a triumph. The general rode in a golden chariot. Millions of citizens screamed his name. He was treated like a living god. But Roman tradition dictated that a slave must stand behind the general in the chariot. For the entire duration of the parade, the slave would lean into the general's ear and whisper one phrase repeatedly. Respice post te. Hominum te esse memento. Memento mori. Look behind you. Remember you are a man. Remember you must die. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor. He was treated as a god every single day. To prevent himself from becoming a narcissistic tyrant, he obsessed over death. He writes, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He reminded himself that Alexander the Great, who conquered the known world, and Alexander the Great's mule driver both ended up in the exact same place. Buried in the earth, returning to dust. Death is the great equalizer. It is the ultimate deadline. Modern society is terrified of death. We hide it in hospitals. We put makeup on corpses to pretend they are just sleeping. We refuse to talk about it. The Stoics tell you to put death on your desk. Look at it every single morning. Memento mori, remember you must die, is not a morbid, depressing obsession. It is a brilliant, aggressive prioritization tool. If you truly remember that you could die on your drive home from work today, how will you treat your spouse before you walk out the door? Will you waste your morning screaming at a stranger on the internet? Will you spend another year working a job you despise because you are afraid of failure? Death strips away the trivial, the superficial, and the cowardly. When you realize the hourglass is running out, and you have absolutely no idea how much sand is left, you stop wasting time. You stop waiting for tomorrow to be a good person. You stop waiting for someday to start the project. Let the reality of your death dictate every word you speak, every action you take, and every thought you hold. Conclusion. The final departure. The diary comes to an end. Let us look at the final passage Marcus Aurelius ever wrote. He reflects on his life as if it were a play. He notes that the director of the play is telling the actor to leave the stage. The actor says, "But I have only played 3 acts, not 5. Marcus Aurelius replies to himself, "True, but in life 3 acts can be the whole play, so make your exit with grace, the same grace shown to you." In 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius closed his eyes and exited the stage. He did not cure the plague. He did not prevent the eventual fall of the Roman Empire. But he won the only battle that actually mattered. He conquered himself. He left behind a blueprint for the human soul that survived the collapse of Rome, the Dark Ages, and millennia of warfare. To arrive in your ears today, you now hold the keys to the emperor's mind. When the world is chaotic, draw the line. Build the inner citadel. Strip away the toxic judgments that cause your pain. When you are exhausted, get out of bed. Run to meet your nature. Do good without expecting applause. Take the obstacles in your path and consume them like a blazing fire. And when you face the unbearable, do not fight the cart. Love your fate. Zoom out to the cosmos to crush your ego. And look into the grave to remember what truly matters.